Good morning to one and all. This is Dr. P. Lavanya, working as Associate Professor in MBA Department in Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Dundigal, Hyderabad. So today our topic related to the question bank. So related to the second unit of this question bank, that is a theory of demand and supply in managerial economics. So we'll start with the first question relating to the demand, that is if you want to launch a mini meal in your newly promoted restaurant. So analyze the estimation of demand. Means it is like an example that when you want to promote a startup like starting any sort of a restaurant, how we'll forecast or analyze the demand of our product. So the solution comes here saying that we has to go for analyzing and estimating demand for a new or mini meal in our recently promoted restaurant. So if you want to promote or estimate the demand of meals relating to the recently maybe a new opened restaurant, so here we have several factors to be considered. So these factors we can analyze by step in order to assist the estimated demand and also the identifying the potential demand of our restaurant. So the first factor relating to this one of a restaurant was in case of food. This is a restaurant related to the meals, means it's a food variety. So first we should understand that who are our targeted audience. Means for a restaurant, who are the audience, means the people who comes to take the meals. Maybe that we'll call as the targeted audience, that is customers who are coming to that area. So maybe it will having an important analyzation that audience or targeted people will depends upon the demographical estimation and preference of these targeted customers. Means demographically means geographically we estimate. So maybe like it is having any sort of tourist importance. So the restaurant will function very good as many people will come for these meals and other. So we should use the consumer taste and preferences and also consider where that restaurant was located and what are the people coming, means related their age factors and income level, means based upon the prices and their taste and the preference of the consumers, maybe relating to the providing different types of food items related to the customers, maybe aged people or maybe children's, maybe youth. So in this way the preference to be identified and based upon that who are our target audience to be considered. Next, market research. Then we can say that market research understands current trends in a restaurant industry we should identify and also see how far the demand was existing for our mini meals. Next, survey of your consumers. We has to go for a good feedback or the survey relating to the consumers who are already came and take some interview and asking what sort of improvements are to be made and considering their preferences and willingness to try new items which are present in the menu and their opinions upon the mini meals. Means we should go for surveying to the consumers who came to our restaurant and also other their taste preferences and their opinions. Next, analyze the sales data. So review our historical of the past sales data and identify the popular dishes, means relating to the restaurant, as we want to identify that taste and the popular dishes will be there to certain areas. So based upon that preferences, we should consider that which dish is having a good impact or at a peak hours how that pattern could be identified. Next, pricing strategies. So we should go for different types of pricing strategies, as we can't go for conventional pricing strategies. We have strategic pricing strategies where based upon the competitors pricing and the willingness of the targeted audience plays an important role in fixation of price. Promotion and marketing. So we should have a good planning relating to the marketing of our restaurant. Maybe we should use like social medias, mail campaigns and other, maybe creating awareness. Like as we see that Zomato itself will use as the mails, messages to the different people. So telling that some exciting offers are there, or maybe like providing some sort of lesson or price relaxations. So this by using social media we should go for a good promotion. Next, limited time offer. So considering this launching of this mini mail, where we can go for a limited time offer, right? Because we can't give a wider time. So this limited time will create a competition or exciting among the consumers, and who will rush to the restaurant, and this creates a sense of urgency and encourage the customers to attend. And we should forecast this market research based upon the market research, based upon the historical data research and the data within a good forecasting methods. We should forecast the demand of our consumers relating to the mini meal. So in case of seasonal variations and external factors are to be gives more impact upon the consumer, so we should consider those factors while going for forecasting. Collaborating with influencers means partners with influencing the local food bloggers and create a buzz around the new mini meals, and this endorses the significant impact upon the perception and demand for our offerings. Means we should collaborate with the people or the marketing analyzers who are there, maybe like local vendors or the local visitors, who creates a buzz saying that, yeah, if anybody asks like tourist place any other, they will give one or two restaurant names which is very good in that area. So like that buzz to be created, and which gives a good impact upon that. So by considering the above factors, when we want to start a restaurant, or maybe demand to be is it is in a newly launching restaurant, as we want demand to be ongoing, means it is in a flowing, that is food is essential, and we should stay always flexible by considering the changing the customer taste and preferences, and such only the demand or the restaurant type of business will create or get a good success in the long term region. And not only this is in a food and which is a perishable one, and the demand is recreated many times. So 100% we should go with cost and the quality considerations, and make the consumers to revise or analyze with the strategy accordingly. And the next is list out the methods which we can use in estimation of demand. So in order to estimate a demand for a fast moving goods, means fast moving consumer goods. So what sort of demand we can estimate for a new product when you want to launch a new product, and which methods you can suggest and why. So when I want to see the demand estimation or the forecast for fast moving product which is newly launching in the market, so first we should identify the demand of this new product, and relating to the firm what it has to be taken place relating to the informed decisions. Means first consumer demand to be identified as fast moving consumer goods, as we can have the demand, or maybe the changing of the demand will be taken place. So that's why various methods we can employ in estimation of demand. In the choosing of these methods, often we depends upon the nature of the product. Means different consumer forecasting or demand estimation methods are there. So when you want to choose any one method for our fast moving consumer goods, we should identify what is the nature of the product, and what type of data is available, and what are the resources at hand. So come and first we'll analyze what sort of methods we are estimating for demand. So the factors which are required for the estimation of these fast moving consumer goods is, first one is market research. So continuous market research should be done relating to these goods, as goods will be perishable. Once the demand closes, the new product will come. So market research is one of the important thing. And we should analyze this estimation of the demand based upon the historical data available relating to the pricing strategies and also the production pattern. And now we could go for competitive analysis, as the competitor are the important features, and where we can establish a price in the market based upon the competitors' analyzation. Next we go for experts' opinion, relating to the what sort of pricings or the estimation of the demand could be done for the new product based upon the experts decisions or the opinions. We can go for some conclusions. Next, in surveys and the feedback should be considered relating to the fast moving product. Why? Because these will help us to analyze the demand for the future and also identify the customer taste and preferences by considering the feedback. So by taking above factors, we can have the techniques of forecasting for this fast moving product in case of newly launched product. So as we have seen that forecasting models like utilizing the quantitative forecasting models which are based upon the statistical methods, like primarily we will have these time series analysis and also machine learning algorithms. And these models which we can incorporate various variables like statistical variables and perfect solution or the perfect forecasting we can able to get by these quantitative forecasting method in analyzing the variables in order to predict the future demand of the product. And the next technique is expert panels. So as we know, the group of experts will come together collectively. They will give the opinion relating to the fast moving products and also relating to the estimation of demands. So these expert panels or the group of people were famously called it as a Delphi method, where they provide us the anonymous information and also their opinion relating to the multiple given in multiple rounds by the different opinions expressed based upon the types of the consumers and the movement of the goods and services, which is used for consensus building. Means in order to build a good consensus, so we require these expert panels or the Delphi technique. Next, econometric models. So this is applied in economic models like econometric, which help us to estimate the demand based upon some factors like the income of the consumers, growth and the prices and elasticity of the prices. So based upon the economical factors, we go for estimation, which is famously called as econometric models. Next one, like segmentation and scenario analysis. So the segmentation techniques and the models which are different in scenario gives a lot of impact upon this demand. So as we know, these scenario based upon the requirement, we should understand the sensitivity of the demand and supply, and we should analyze the methods or the factors which are helpful for the demand forecasting. So by these above factors and the methods, we are able to estimate the demand for a new product relating to the fast moving consumer product. So it is very much benefited by using the combination of these approaches. So integration of both quantitative and qualitative analysis of these demand forecasting, which provides us a comprehensive or coordinating understanding relating to the potential demand, which help the organization to reduce the risks of relying a single source of information. Means by collecting the information through different sources and taking the experts and different forecasting methods, we can decrease the risk relating to the fast moving product of a new launched product. And the next question, where we can have the contrast between the inferior and normal goods, which are having the substitution effect, income effect, and between the changes of quantity, demand, and changes in demand and supply. Means the differentiation should be done to the inferior normal goods. What happens in case of substitution, income changes, or quantity or supply changes. So first we comes relating to what are inferior goods and what are normal goods, and based upon these we can go for what are the changes or effect will be there relating to the substitution, income and quantity supply changes. So first come what are inferior goods. So inferior goods are those which having a demand increases as consumer income falls. Means low cost goods may be called like generic or store branded goods like used cars, or low quality goods which having a considerable factor. So when you comes under the relationship with these inferior goods with income, once the consumer income increases, the consumer stop purchasing these goods, and automatically what happens, he want to choose the goods and switch on to the expensive goods. Means income increases, we want a good quality goods and we'll stop purchasing the inferior goods, and comes as a normal goods. The definition of these normal goods are those where the demand increases as consumer income increases. It is quite opposite to the inferior goods, as the demand of the normally everyday utilization goods, these are required goods. Once the income increases, the demand also increases. Maybe example like high demand electronics items, or maybe the designed clothing, premium cars, or typically normally utilized goods. Once our income increases, we want a good quality or the typical goods. So here the relationship was, when consumer having higher income, it tend to buy the more of these goods. Means for inferior goods, we want to shift to the another goods, but for normal goods, when income increases, we want to purchase more of these goods. Next, we see the substitution effect versus the income effect. Substitution, the word substitution itself is referred to the change in the quantity demanded of a goods due to the change in the relative price of a compared product or compared to the other goods. Means it is an alternative good. Substitution goods or alternative goods. Maybe you can purchase A or B. For example, tea or coffee. Maybe you can go for a satisfaction of our demand or need, maybe to the tea or to coffee. It's called as substitution. So example of the substitution effect is, if one goods price decreases, then consumer want to switch on to the more expensive goods than a cheaper one. Means here the goods prices has been decreases, the consumer switches to that decreased product rather than the expensive price. Means price plays an important in the substitution effect, where the price increases, automatically the consumer switch to the less priced product. So the example is, if prices of normal goods decreases, consumers effectively have more real income and leads to increase the quantity demanded. Means if normal goods price decreases, the consumer will have more income and he will purchase the more of that quantity. So change in the quantity versus change in the demand and supply. So the definition of this quantity, change in the quantity means referring that movement along within a demand curve where it caused by change in the price of the goods, assuming that all factors are constant. If price of smartphones, for example, the smartphone's price increases, quantity demanded may decrease. It leads to the movement of demand curve. As we know, the demand curve will come stop to down. DD will be the demand curve. As price increases, the demand will decrease. And a change in demand in supply, as we can say that shift in the demand curve, as in case of change in the demand or supply, causing the change in the differentiated factor price of the goods. So the example for this change in the demand or the supply is, based upon the price changes, the demand or the supply will also changes. So these change or the shift in this DD curve will be takes place based upon the consumer preferences, maybe relating to its smartphones, or maybe shift in the rights. So the example for change in the supply is, if technologically or innovatively reduces the cost of production of these smartphones, the supply for the smartphones will shift to the right. Means the change in the supply, as we can say that innovatively the cost decreases, here the prices will also increases and supply will also increase. So in the above summary, we can say, by considering the prices or the demand for inferior goods and the normal goods, where we can categorize based upon the relationship between the demand and income of the consumers. And in case of substitution effect, where will comes to the income effect, and we can use the different types of concepts relating to the change in the quantity and which has been demanded due to the change in the price. Next, list out the major advantages and disadvantages relating to the estimating the demand by the consumer surveys. So we should identify what is the consumer surveys, different methods, and what are these advantages and disadvantages. So consumer surveys is nothing but the feedback or the methodology of collecting the information from the consumers, and the collection of these feedback may be in a different ways. So the collection of this feedback help the producers to identify the companies relating to the consumer satisfaction and measuring what consumers require and engaging the consumer relating to their products and performing a good market research, what type of consumers preference and taste was changed, and also what the consumer was expecting in the future. So in order to identify the consumer's taste, preference, satisfaction, his expectation in the future, we require the valuable insights from the consumers, which could be collected in the form of consumer surveys. So the main advantages of these consumer surveys is it is considered as a direct feedback where we can get from the consumer, where we can understand the consumer's need, preferences, taste, and also the behavior. And next, we can say that customization. So surveys help for the organization to identify the targeted audiences and ensures or the collected the reliable data may be in the form of questionnaires. Quick and cost effectiveness. These surveys will help the company to know or identify the conducting these surveys in a quicker or easy method, and also cost should be reduced. So especially if you done in online, the total cost and the time are also be reduced, and advantage for the organization. Qualitative data to be identified in case of surveys. So they are not just qualitative, but also along with qualitative, the quantitative data is providing more comprehensive or collaborative understanding of consumer taste, preferences, and sentiments. Flexibility. Surveys help the producers to identify the flexibility and need of change when the consumer has been changed. So where we can identify this flexibility through versatile and suitable offer different demographic features. Next, identify the trends, where consumer survey will help to identify the new trends, taste, and preferences of the consumers and help us to stay along with the consumers ahead. These are some of the advantages relating to the consumer survey forms. Along with that, there are also some disadvantages relating to this consumer survey, as the response will be depends upon the bias, means the risk of the response, means the participants may give correct information or not. So maybe they give or not, but sometimes they respond quickly where the response is socially desirable manner. Next, we have a limited depth. These survey forms where we can say like it is having only limited scope. Underlying, we are asking only the consumer's behavior, taste, preferences. Only the surface level we can identify. Means as lack of context. These survey feedback methods will sometimes doesn't match for the real life purchasing situations. Potentially, sometimes consumer give one type of preference, but once they enter into the market, when he identified new type of product, he attract that one and he will switch, or mismatch will be there between his preference and actual purchasing pattern. Next, sample representation is a representation of a targeted market, but doesn't actually, the sample representation doesn't represent correctly the market. Just the people will gives the preference, but they'll purchase another one in the actual or real scenario. Next, question wording effect. So these questioning purchasing can influence the responses, leading to the providing inaccurate data, or sometimes they are phrased, could be influenced relating to the not actually accurate data or not really designed. Next, consumer surveys. At some critically, these are the above factors where we can identify relating to the disadvantages. Maybe some sort of disadvantages are there in comprehensive collecting method. Through continuous research relating to the consumers, survey bags will be more useful for the companies to identify and have the comprehensive understanding relating to the changes or the changing in marketing dynamics. Compare the difference between law of supply of demand. So as we can say, law of demand and law of supply. So what sort of changes will be there? So law of supply and law of demand, where we can say law of supply. So as we can say, both are important factors or the fundamental principles which are engaged or governing factors in a managerial economics. So here they describes the quantity of the goods which we has to be supplied in the market, and the demand in the market is influenced by the different factors of the price. So here we'll compare both what is law of demand and what are law of supply. So when it comes under the definitions of these two, the law of demand states that when all things are equal, the prices of the goods and services may be decreases when the quantity of the demand increases. Maybe where we can say inverse relationship, means vice versa. When the price increases, the quantity will decrease. When the quantity decreases, the price will increase. Means negative relationship was there between in the law of demand for quantity demanded and price. But when you comes from the supply state, when all things are being equal, means the prices of the goods and services increases, the quantity supply of the goods will also increase. Means positive or the direct relationship between the supply and demand. When the price increases, the producer want to gain more profits and he supply more goods to the market. Means when the price increases, the supply will also increases. The demand is having negative or inverse relationship, but law of supply is having the positive or direct relationship. So when you comes under the graphical representation of this differentiation for law of demand and supply. In law of demand, where graphically we can slope that demand curve slopes from left to right, relating the slope or the negative slope of demand, which slopes from top to down. Means the left to right, which shows that there is an inverse relationship. But when you comes under the law of supply, where graphically the supply curve will represent from left to right, indicating that positive relationship will be there. As price increases, the demand supply will also increases. The factors affecting for the law of demand and supply. So for the law of demand, there are various factors including like consumer preferences, income, prices of related goods, may be related to the substitution effect. So different factors are being affected for the law of demand. But when you comes under the law of supply, it includes only the internal factors like production cost, technology, government factors, and future expectation. Means relating to the more dynamic economic factors are taken place in case of law of supply, but relating to the goods information or relating to the pricing substitution was considered in law of demand. Equilibrium. Law of demand where point out that demand curve will be intersect or represents the equilibrium where the price and quantity, means where we can say that equalization of quantity demanded with quantity supply. Means law of demand is downward sloping and law of supply is upwards. Means left to right and right to left, and the point where both these two intersect will get the equilibrium. But in case of law of supply, the intersection of demand represents the equilibrium price and quantity, where quantity is equal to the quantity demanded. Means the same in case of law of demand, where it says that the equilibrium will exhibit where we can have supply equal to the quantity demanded. Shifts in the curve. So in case of law of demand, the shift will be there in the entire demand curve once the consumers changes, means the factors changes in the law of demand, maybe like consumer income or maybe taste preferences, the shift comes to the right. But when you in case of supply, when the factors affecting the supply curve, where we can see the decrease in the proportional cost, maybe shift we can see in the right. Then role of price determination. So in case of law of demand, the consumer willingness or the taste preferences of goods and services will place an important role in price determination at a different price levels. But in case of supply, where we can say producers' willingness plays an important role relating to selling of the goods or services. So by taking the above analysis, where we can find out this, law of demand will focus mainly upon the relationship between the price and quantity, and supply focus upon the relationship between price and quantity supply, means demanded by the market, supplied by the producers. Consumer and producers together we can help for determination of equilibrium. Only when these law of demand and law of supply intersect, means both together we are able to identify the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity of the market. So these are the relating to the some of the questions where we can come across in the second module of a theory of demand and supply.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.